therapy, where we practice true balanced wellness. So, today I wanted to talk to you about my personal health journey, where I am, how I got there, and the plans that I would like to implement going forward to get me back on track. So, I'm a certified health coach and behavioral change specialist. So, you may be a little bit shocked that I am having to go on an actual health and wellness journey myself. But it happens. Life happens and things just get in the way. So, what I like to do is, instead of focusing on the future, right now, instead of focusing on the future, is take a look at where I am, what led up to the weight gain. So, in total, I have gained about 50 pounds, and that fluctuates within any given day. But it didn't come overnight. And behavior change, it doesn't just switch overnight. Of course, you have those instances, maybe some events that happen that could cause a traumatic shift in some form. But for me, it was gradual. The behavioral changes, the bad habits that I picked up, it was a gradual change. So I just want to dive in a bit and just kind of give some information onto how I got into this place that I am now. I'm all about looking forward, but I also want to just take the time and just analyze what went wrong, so I can get back on track and move forward, which I have been doing, and I'll talk about that in the future. But for right now, I do just want to focus on what led up to this point, because in life, things just change. They go up and they go down. You have your highs and you have your lows. But it's all about being resilient and how we bounce back. But first, I do believe you do have to identify some areas. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, the number one thing would be stress. And the stress led to emotional eating. So my daytime professional job, I am an HR professional. So within HR comes a lot of different stresses. So when I started really packing on the pounds was between, 2019, 2020, that time where COVID had just reared its ugly head and just popped on the scene out of nowhere. So along with that, I was the single point of contact for leave of absences within our department. And the more COVID cases that were happening, that came about, the more leave absences were being requested. So it was just a lot. So there are a lot of laws around leave of absences within a company. And if you're working for a pretty large company, you got to make sure you're doing everything right. And you also got to make sure you respond in a timely manner and so forth. So there's a lot of legalese that goes into leaves of absences. So I was dealing with the leaves. It was high volume. I worked for a company, it was thousands of employees. It wasn't too large, but it was large enough for one person. And dealing with FMLA, and then the other issues that came along with the spike in COVID cases too. So it was a lot of, traumatic events going on, a lot of people in hospitals and just taking on all that stress. So what I did, I turned to food for my comfort. And once you turn to something else for your comfort, instead of like how I used to do, I used to just kind of, go to the gym, just run it off or get on an elliptical, whatever I would do. I would just go walking or jogging or something like that. But I started turning to food, and that's one of the worst things you can do, especially when you're on any type of wellness journey. or if you have any type of health goals. So I turned to food, and of course, the more stressful I got, the more I ate. So I was definitely in a caloric surplus, and that made the weight shoot up. So that was number one: stress and emotional eating. Some people do the opposite. If they're stressed, some people don't eat. If they experience depression or something like that, they don't eat. Me, during this time, it was a complete opposite. Honey, I was eating. So that's number one that led to my weight gain. So number two, it was the change of environment. So where I used to live, it was an extremely active environment. So we went from there, from being in an extremely active, exciting, fun environment, to a more laid back environment. I wouldn't say it wasn't fun. It wasn't as fun as where I am now, but because I recently moved back to that place. But it wasn't as active. The community where I live, they cater to a lot of the senior citizens, which is really good because, they do need somewhere to go. They need activities. Depression rates are really high in senior citizens, so I'm all for that. However, for me, it was not conducive for me and my health. Just the overall environment where I used to live, where I currently am now, since I moved back. So have access to gyms. We had access to gyms, one in the area, one in the complex, two actually that was up the street, and then one just right around the corner. So, and then you also had the option to walk. So that was one thing, just having that kind of taken away. I didn't think about that when I did decide to move. That's something I just didn't factor in. However, I will say this. I did think about, I never forget, I was like, okay, so the place that I went to live has the most restaurants per capita. I want to say within the state of Texas. I can't remember if it's within the state of Texas or the DFW area. But they have a lot of restaurants. So in my head, I was like, I don't know if this is really good for a weight loss journey or a health journey, because that's, what I was all about. So it's really true. Even though you may not consume, because I wasn't consuming the food directly in that area to start, but it was a slow and gradual process. Next thing you know, eating at restaurants that I've never eaten at before, just going to places, right after work, just eating a lot. And then sometimes just, traveling out a little bit to go eat too. So sometimes our brain receives those cues that makes us want to eat. So if you know about the fast food industry and how, what colors they use to trigger certain things, I do believe that to be true. And if you're around something for so long, eventually you're going to cave in to that culture or those behaviors. So again, really nice town. But it just wasn't conducive for my health goals. So eventually all of those habits, those, really good behaviors that I had worked through and developed over the years had just started to taper off. And, I got more sedentary. Then you add that on top of the stress from my job, the sedentary, sitting at your desk, you can't move. You got employees, you got managers calling you, then you got to take care of home. It was just so much. So you're adding layer on top of layer. So that was number two, the change in environment. And the third thing, this one is a little bit different for some, but lifestyle creep. If you're not familiar with that term, I will put some type of definition here. But pretty much, I got another job. So thankfully I was out of that, high stressful environment. So I landed another job, thankfully. However, more income means more disposable income. And what was I doing with this income? Yeah. Going out to eat, trying new restaurants and, just having a good old time. And eventually, the more I made, the more I was able to spend more on food. And, I never went out to eat at restaurants. As a matter of fact, I used to hate it because Texas is so big. And I used to always say, you just never know what people are doing to your food. I was really particular about eating at home, cooking the food myself. If I bought it at the grocery store, bring it home to cook. It was, that was just my lifestyle. I just did not like going out to eat. I don't care how fancy the restaurant was. I just preferred to eat at home because it's just so many people here, and it just being, just kind of like a germ freak and just thinking about how people can be sometimes. I just never wanted to eat out like that. But, that changed. Things happen in our lives. Eventually, all of those things caught up with me here, and it led me to where I am now. So where I currently am now, I am about 202 pounds. So that is really, really hard for me to say, because especially when, you love health, wellness, and fitness, but for some reason, you just fell on track and it's just hard to get back on track. The habits that I had 4 or 5 years ago, it's kind of hard to develop those habits again. So where I am now, I'm 202 pounds. I'm about 39 to 40% body fat, and my BMI is about 33, 34. So pretty high up there. And we all know the different statistics that comes along with being overweight and with obesity. It is very, very hard on the body. So I am 5'3" and a half, and having this much weight on me is just too much. Like, now I can feel it in my knees when I'm going up the stairs, like I'm out of breath. And yeah, I just cannot believe that. Like, this is just so different for me. So I am definitely on a journey, and it's not so much about losing the weight. Yeah, I definitely need to. It's not I want to. It's a want and a need, because you feel better. You're lighter. You got more energy. You're not so tired and the fatigue and all that stuff. So it's not so much about, just losing it, but it's really about getting back to a better place mentally too. And one thing about me is, like, again, when I'm stressed or anything like that, I would like to just, go work out, go jog or something like that. So when that stops, when that's taken away, the only other thing that I really turn to is food. And that's just not healthy. So where I am now, the weight gain, I am doing a lot better with a lot of my, different habits, because I have started building healthier habits, of course, little by little. But I think I have made some good improvements. But it's really time for me to just, step it up a little bit more again. So I moved back to where I used to live, in the area where I used to live, and it's like night and day. Like, I'm so happy to be back here. But the most important thing for me is just making sure I'm getting back on track. I'll worry about, the financial aspects of it a little bit later. But the most important thing for me is just making sure that I'm, getting those behaviors back, getting back into the old mindset and kind of merging the two. merging the two, the older lifestyle plus the new, I don't think one of the other, well, I think I can pull from one of the other pros, and it was some cons too. When I was, fitter, healthier, it was some things that I would change there too. So I'm not saying it was 100% utopia, but again, it's some the most positive aspects of my previous lifestyle I would like to bring back. So that is where I am. Stress and emotional eating, the change of environment, and lifestyle creep. Like those were my three. I would say my top three things. There's probably a little bit more, and I do have a detailed article on my website, www.beartherapy.com. If you wanted to just delve in a little bit more, I do list a little bit more insights in there regarding, my different habits and so forth. So feel free to check out that article there. So that is all. I will be documenting my journey here and hopefully providing tips that can help you get back on track too. If you have fallen off, it's okay. That's the thing about it. It's never too late to get back on track. It's never too late to start any type of journey, whether it's health, fitness, running, whatever that journey is, professional journey, career, wherever that is, it's never too late to start over. So thank you for tuning in, and tune back in for more videos. And remember to be true, be balanced, and be well.